Europe, what's good with you guys? We're back, and this time we're going to be doing Amon's top 3 theory builds before Borderlands 4 comes out. As I was doing these skill trees, I wasn't too excited about Amon, honestly, but Amon does have a lot of elemental melee damage, a lot of elemental damage in general, and this compare well with a lot of high damage, high fire rate weapons to just keep outputting elemental damage. So first we're going to be going with the Amon Vengeance, or we're going to be going with the Revenger, as I like to call it, where we're mostly going to be going into the Vengeance skill tree. We're going to be going all the way down to the Capstone Glacial Rapture, which is going to now make Amon's Firewall a Glacial Rapture, which is pretty much just going to be a gigantic slam skill. But it's also going to increase our Forged Steel Whips damage, and also the Rift and Hazard damage that the Glacial Rapture will do. On top of that, for our augment, we have Internal Winter, which is going to partially restore our action skill duration and firewall duration on a damaged enemy. It can be activated up to 3 times in succession. I don't really know how well these are going to synergize, but it just sounded like they synergized, honestly. We're going to have Scorched Kairos, which is going to give us more ordnance damage and magazine size, along with Amon gains missing health regen. When every time Amon takes or absorbs a non-status effect damage, he gains a stack of Resolute for a duration which increases this effect. So that's just pretty much health regen in general. We have Ricochet with Bullet Hell, where pretty much a Corrosive Shard will be shot out. I said corrosive. A Cryo Shard will be shot out at a 3% chance, which I believe that 3% is now a 15% chance. And we also get increased cryo damage, so that kind of helps with the Bullet Hell. But also, what I thought was interesting was Wildfire also being a part of these two skills, with it being another increase in ricochet damage, burn damage, and burning duration. So say I'm doing burn damage, a shard works out, then say I'm doing burn damage, and then a cryo shard shoots out, and then on top of that I'm getting increased cryo damage. That's just double dipping elements. But then I also get a kill skill with killing an enemy with cryo damage gains a stack of cryo affinity for a duration, and this increases gun damage as well. And then on top of that, we get increased damage to frozen enemies and bosses. On top of that, we also get more ordnance damage, and it consumes some cryo affinity to spawn another elemental shard, dealing more damage. And then on top of that, we got elemental shards having a chance to ricochet again. So imagine 2 ricochets of the same shard, pretty much. On top of that, we do have some points in cybernetics, where we have Amon having a kill skill where he can get more elemental damage, and also an increase in forge skill damage and detonation damage. So just above all, just pretty much pure ricochet build, making sure that damage is kind of absorbed and reflecting at the same time, with him also being able to deal damage with his forge whips at the same time. Our next build is Cybernetic Amon, or Cyborgnetic. That was horrible. Or Cyborg Amon, where pretty much we're going to be trying to get down to this skill tree, which is Conflagrang, or Conflangerang, which is an insane name, where we're going to be doing more incendiary melee damage in both directions. On top of that, we're going to be trying to pair this with more cryo damage. So we pretty much have more elemental damage at the top, and then we go down for more forge skill damage and detonation damage, while also increasing that gun damage at the same time, with more action skill damage and having a chance to critical hit and burn enemies And then we have this skill, Freezer Burn. Dealing incendiary damage with guns increases cryo damage for a duration. Dealing cryo damage with gun increases incendiary damage for a duration. Come on now, that's just OP. And then we got Reverse Explosion, which is when we deal force skill damage, we create a drone singularity, pretty much just grouping them together, and then I could throw another axe. And then we got more skills in Calamity, which is going to help with our fire output. So we got more fire damage. Then we got more melee and skill damage. Then down we have more status effect damage. Or when we apply a status effect, we gain more gun damage, which will just do more status effect damage on top of that. And then we gain immunity to all damage for a brief period of time when we're activating a forge skill. That's just pretty much goes in hand with us throwing our axes. And then we have Berserk, where whenever Amon activates a forge skill, he becomes Berserk for a duration, gaining a slow immunity and gaining bonus cryo damage with gun damage and melee damage. So this is just a flat out increase to damage in general, but we also get slow immunity, meaning that pretty much we can't be, we could be frozen, but we don't get the debuff of being slowed. And then on top of that, we get more Berserk. When we kill somebody, we pretty much get more Berserk duration back, and we also get more cryo damage from that Berserk. I got 2 points in that. Our last build, and probably the build I'm least happy about, I'm not gonna lie, is the Calamity build, where we're mostly going to be going for the Storm Cutter, which is going to drop down a forged sword on an enemy for shock damage. I'm probably going to use the other two skill trees before I use this one, but regardless, we got the Storm Cutter skill, which is pretty much going to restore our action skill and action skill duration and ordnance duration on each enemy hit, which I think this is really only going to hit one enemy at a time, or at least a group of enemies, depending on where you put it at. So we'll see how this works. On top of that, we got the augment, where we gain more status effect chance while onslaught is active, which pretty much is when we activate our skill. So pretty much we get more melee damage and skill damage, which goes down to our Storm Cutter skill. We get more status effect damage and duration, which goes to our Storm Cutter skill. We got Forge Steel, when we become immune to all damage for a brief duration when activating a storage skill, a forge skill, which also goes down to Storm Cutter. Then we got when Amon applies a shock dot to an enemy, he gains an increased critical hit chance. When Amon applies burning to an enemy, he gains increased crit hit damage. I think I said that wrong. Whenever Amon applies shock damage to an enemy, he gains increased crit hit chance for a duration. Whenever Amon applies a burning to an enemy, he gains increased crit hit damage for a duration, which that just helps with the Storm Cutter as well. But also, this is just overall, if I'm doing burn damage, I do more crit damage with it, so that helps. And then on top of that, whenever I deal increase melee damage to enemies, and then on top of that, we deal more melee damage to enemies that are below 50% total health, and I think this bonus goes all the way up to 35%. So say I get an enemy or a group of enemies down below half mostly, if I activate my skill, this is pretty much just going to do even more damage to them. And then on top of that, we have electrical fire, where when Amon burns an enemy, he also shocks them, and whenever Amon shocks an enemy, he also burns them. When Amon electrocutes an enemy, it also burns them, and this is a cooldown of 2 seconds. So this is just all synergies with fire and shock. We do have some points over in cybernetics, where we have more elemental damage on kill. We have more skills, forge skill damage and detonation damage, and we have more increased shock damage on top of more action skill damage, having a chance to critical hit and burn enemies. So Raging Inferno kind of goes inside with electrical fire. And then on top of that, we got a couple points for our Ordis damage and magazine size, and a couple of points for our health regen. So you let me know what you think about Amon's skill trees, if you think you're going to implement any of these skills into your skill tree when Borderlands 4 drops. Subscribe if you enjoy the content. Like and comment what you think Amon's best skills are and what you're going to be implementing as you play Borderlands 4. Most likely I'll be playing Amon last, just based off of the melee aspect alone. I'm not really a melee, I'm a gunner. So if you guys like the content, like, comment, and subscribe, and peace out.